We review all the best sports clips from around the country. Okay, we're with first things first. Talking about who is under duress: Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, any of these great players. We're at the Bud list, Chris Broussard's list of who's under duress. Let's just jump right into it.
Some viewer mail for the year 2024. What's wrong, bro?
Nothing.
We get tons of mail for the year
mail.
2024. Just satchels.
I know there's something coming. You're not slick anymore. 10 straight weeks.
Dear Wilds, love the show. After the Packers loss, there sure was a lot of talk about Cowboys losing their jobs. Yet Mike McCarthy is staying. Are there any lessons to be learned here for you and the show? Howdy, Ryan and Brian. Well, first of all, Ryan and Brian.
Howdy.
Howdy is a hello, not a goodbye. It's not like aloha. You cannot use it for both hello and goodbye. But there is one lesson we learned about Mike McCarthy and Cowboys. It's the fact that regular season record, very strong. Cowboys just behind the Chiefs and actually better than the Bills and better than the 49ers. So what I think the lesson here for the show is, bro, is that you shouldn't be defined by just one playoff loss, and consistency matters in a successful organization. Time for the Bud list.
You really?
That's it?
I told you, I'm a man of my word.
Wow.
I told you we retired the Cowboy, and
That is disappointing.
Or something. I know, something's coming. I don't trust it. All right. This is an interesting Bud list. Like I said, it's all quarterbacks. And I think one of the interesting discussion points you guys might want to have is it in the right order of pressure?
Oh.
Right? Because it's least pressure to most pressure.
Sure.
So at number 3, Brock Purdy.
Oh.
All right, Brock, you had a fantastic season. And don't let anyone tell you otherwise. All right? But despite you going out there, making your first Pro Bowl, I would even say you were third team All-Pro if such a thing existed. Such a thing existed. It was Lamar Jackson. I think you would have been third team All-Pro.
That's not a thing.
But that's neither here nor there. But right, you broke the single season passing record for yards in the franchise of Montana and Steve Young. I mean, my gosh, that is incredible. You led the league in passer rating and yards per attempt. Despite all of that, there still are doubters. And I'm telling you, Brock, it might be unfair, but if you go out there and lose, or really if you don't play well, the doubters will pounce. And they'll pounce hard. Now, I don't even know if San Francisco, would they try to do something at quarterback? I have no idea. So go out there, do your thing, be you, represent the Iowa Mafia, and lead your team to a victory. Brock, I believe in you. All right, at number 2, more pressure now than Brock, Josh Allen. All right, Josh, this is the big one. This is it. Now, you have really owned Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs in the regular season. You've won 3 out of 4 games, but of course in the playoffs, you're 0 for 2. And if you lose this game, then the story's going to be you can't beat Mahomes no matter what. And I'm telling you, Josh, if not now, when? I mean, Kansas City's offense is the worst we've seen in this Mahomes era. You have the home field advantage. There is no excuse for you not to go out there and win this game. And if you lose it, you also might lose your coach. So go out there and play your game. Now, play a clean game. Clean. That means 1 turnover or less. All right, don't force the big play. If the big play presents itself, like the 52-yarder, I'm sliding. No, I'm not. I'm going for a touchdown. If it presents itself, go for it, but don't force it. All right, just be yourself. Let the game come to you.
Okay, so I have some thoughts on this before. I was going to see if I wanted to wait for all 3 up first, but I wanted to interject real fast here. I think both those players are absolutely under duress, for sure. There's absolutely pressure on them. I'll make the argument that Brock Purdy is under more duress because Brock Purdy has the most to lose. If Josh Allen loses, there is a legitimate argument. Whether you want to agree with this argument is irrelevant. But it is a legitimate argument to point out that Josh Allen is, really one of the only elite quarterbacks without an actual good offensive coordinator, offensive head coach like Andy Reid, really honestly, Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, since that's who we keep comparing these two from. He doesn't have, he had a new offensive coordinator in the middle of the season, which is a really big deal. We keep acting like that's nothing. Why are we pretending like offensive coordinators are nothing, especially when your head coach? It's one thing if your head coach was the offensive guru, was the offense mind, but he's not. Sean McDermott is not. He's defense. So losing your offensive coordinator and getting a new offensive coordinator is everything for your offense. Everything. And we're acting like it's nothing. We're acting like it's like Josh Allen just got a new, physical therapist in the middle of the season. That's not what this is at all. This is a really big deal. So, Josh Allen against Patrick Mahomes, just in the playoffs in general, has not been equipped with the tools around him. He has not had elite offensive weapons. Okay? He just hasn't. He does not have elite offensive coaches around him. He hasn't. Patrick Mahomes has. Joe Burrow has. Jalen Hurts has. Okay? It's just indisputable. You can't say that those rosters weren't better. Yes, Joe Burrow didn't have a great offensive line, but he had dudes. He had multiple number one wide receivers, running back. I mean, he had dudes. Okay, we know that. That's unquestionable. I'm not going to keep naming all of, Patrick Mahomes' gifts. Andy Reid, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill. Those are all things. This year, he's been making do with not a ton. Okay, which is what makes Josh Allen special. But please stop pretending like Josh Allen has a stacked team right now, or that it's his team, his Super Bowl to lose, because it's not. It's not. So if he loses and doesn't, can't win this game, it's not all on Josh Allen. It's just not fair to put on him. If he had an elite team, a great head coach, a great offensive coordinator, who might end up being a great offensive coordinator, we just don't know, then I would say, yep, that is on Josh. Josh, you got to play better. You got to do better. But it's just not fair on him. Put that now on Purdy. Purdy has everything. 1, he's no longer a rookie. 2, he's healthy. 3, he has the offensive guru. He has the offensive coach who, calls the plays, designs the plays, who does everything. He has endless offensive weapons, okay? He has McCaffrey, he has Debo, he has the elite defense that gives him the ball in good field position, who gives him extra possessions. He has that, okay? He has those things. So if they don't win and Purdy doesn't play well, then the real true question is can Purdy actually play? Is Purdy only as good as the players around him, and can he not come up in the big games? We know Josh Allen can. He has. Just because he hasn't won doesn't mean you can't just be judged based on whether you win or you lose in that regard. Josh Allen in the one iconic game against Patrick Mahomes played elite. Just because you didn't win doesn't mean that means you're just not good or that you're not elite in that moment. Of course you are. That's absurd, So I think Brock Purdy has more to lose, because if Brock Purdy doesn't play well and loses, then the real question is well, what did the 49ers do? Do they continue with Brock Purdy? Do they, are they going to extend him? And I mean, they don't have to make that decision now, of course. I think that'll be the end of next season. But those are actual, legitimate, real questions of what are we going to do here? Who is actual Brock Purdy? Is Brock Purdy just a B quarterback? Is he just kind of like Dak Prescott? Maybe slightly worse, maybe slightly better. Who is Dak Prescott? And that's really the way why I think Brock Purdy has so much weight on his shoulders and so much pressure, because there's a lot of pressure for him to compete, because everybody is very confident in the 49ers roster minus Brock Purdy. They are very confident in Shanahan as the head coach, not their quarterback. That's really what it is. And I assume, and I guess I'll just jump ahead, I assume it's going to be Lamar Jackson is going to be the next one. And I think a lot of the same things with Josh Allen can be said about Lamar Jackson. Yes, there's pressure for him to compete. Yes, if he lost against the Texans, it would be a pretty big blow. but no actual real fan who understands the game is going to question whether or not Lamar Jackson can play or compete or can play in big moments. We know he can. We know he can. Okay. Lamar Jackson is an elite player. But then the real question is like, to me is like, well, has he been held back by not having any true, good offensive coaches? He hasn't had the luxury of a Ben Johnson, of Mike McDaniel, of obviously Andy Reid, Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan. I mean, like, these are the teams that consistently win and have consistently high producing quarterbacks and offenses. So, and you just can't expect someone like a Lamar or a Josh Allen just to magically do that all themselves. So again, I expect the Ravens to win. I expect Lamar Jackson to win, but let's just say that they lose. I get the question, and I get you would have that debate and that conversation around it. But my viewpoint is that you wouldn't really be like, well, Lamar Jackson just can't. We got to maybe move on from Lamar Jackson, right? You're not having that question. If Brock Purdy doesn't play well, you actually have to have the question of, well, do we move on with Brock Purdy? Can Brock Purdy actually go the next level?
And Josh, I do believe in you. At number one, now this is the most pressure I see, guys, of all the quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson.
100%.
Lamar, you're likely to be almost certain to win your second MVP award. You will be the youngest quarterback ever at 27 years old, about 9 months younger than Mahomes, to have 2 MVPs. And check this out. In the regular season, you've got more quarterback wins, 58, than any other player through their first 6 seasons. And yet, of those quarterbacks, only one who has won 50 or more games in their first 6 years has fewer playoff victories than you. You're 1-3, 4 touchdowns, 7 interceptions in the playoffs. Andy Dalton's the only one with less, 0 wins. So you got to go out there and do your thing. Look, the story's going to be, if you don't get it done, that you are a regular season quarterback and your style just doesn't win in the playoffs. That might be unfair and you might prove it wrong later, but that will be the story for the upcoming off season. So Lamar, I definitely believe in you. You've had a great year. Go out there and do your thing.
Excellent Bud list as always.
Great Bud list. Always excellent, but you got the wrong quarterback in the Buffalo KC game. It's obviously Patrick.
Coach is on
Nonstop.
And I think it's Patrick Mahomes too. And before he goes and says, I just want to say that the pressure is on Patrick Mahomes because this is his first playoff game on the road. So prove that you can win, not at home. If you're going to be considered, we are going to hold Patrick Mahomes up to incredibly high standards. So before people come in at me in the comments and say, why are you holding him to this standard? Because people consider him to be the GOAT, the best to ever do it, to surpass Tom Brady. And so if that's the case, then we have to judge you on an incredibly high standard. So if you don't win this game, that looks really, really bad. That's number one. Number two, also prove that you can win when you don't have elite weapons all around you. Prove to me that you can win when you don't have a prime Hall of Fame, greatest tight end to ever play the game in Kelsey. Prove to me that you can win without an elite wide receiver like a Tyreek Hill. Yes, I get it. They won last year without Tyreek Hill. Get over it. They still had other elite weapons, namely Travis Kelsey. And again, Andy Reid as his head coach. Everyone wants to ignore that. Everyone thinks that, people are just saying that Tyreek Hill is the only reason why Patrick Mahomes has won. That's not the case. No one's saying that. So please stop making that argument. That is a straw man argument. It's not true. It's not real. So I'm not going to keep, debating that back and forth. But over the years, having Tyreek Hill has obviously, absolutely, undeniably helped him. In the Super Bowl, do you not think the Super Bowl would have been easier with Tyreek Hill? Of course it would have. Patrick Mahomes did not have a good passing appearance, in the Super Bowl. It wasn't really that special, honestly, when you really kind of look at it and think about it. Especially this whole season. I mean, literally, Purdy has played better than him. Baker Mayfield has played better than him. Tua Tagovailoa has played better than him. Josh Allen has played better than him. I mean, Dak Prescott has played better than him. So what is it? Is Patrick Mahomes the greatest to ever do it? So amazing, and his success is not predicated on these other players, or is it? Because if you admit that, well, hey, he doesn't have as good as a team as these other players do, well, then you have to admit that his success then previously was a big part of that was due to the type of players that he had on his roster, and also having Andy Reid as his coach, and maybe even Bieniemy as the OC. So again, to act like Patrick Mahomes has already earned his keep and doesn't have any pressure, That's kind of absurd, especially if you want to be considered to be the GOAT and Mahomes Mountain.
Here's why. We're talking so much about the road playoff game, his first road playoff. You know why you're on the road? Because of you, Patrick Mahomes. You're on the road because of you. Let's take a look at this graphic, one of my favorites. Prior to this season, 10 games of a sub-80 passer rating.
That's
this
huge.
season, 7 games of a sub-80 passer rating. So we want to know why we're playing an away playoff game in Kansas City? It's because of Patrick Mahomes. So now you go into the game. You're playing the walking wounded. 3 linebackers, 3 cornerbacks, a safety. Everybody's banged up. You've got a healthy defense. It's second in points. It's second in points, second in total yards. You've got a running back that averages 4.6 yards a carry. You've got all those things lined up. Now, how have you played in the playoffs? Let's look at it. Let's look at the playoffs. So here's his playoff game last week. Here's what it was in all the Super Bowl years. 56 completion percentage. Look at the other numbers. Look at his TD percentage.
It was cold.
2.4, 7, 9, 8.9. His passer rating, 6.
Look how awful that is. And that's what I also keep trying to say. 56% completion percentage. Awful. Passer rating, 83.6. I mean, awful. I mean, that's just awful. And I understand that it was freezing cold. It was really freezing cold for Josh Allen and the Bills. Okay? It was below freezing. And he still balled out. It's cold. The weather is affecting other people too. It's not just that game. I know it was freezing cold. I get it. But that was not a great game for Patrick Mahomes. And everyone wants to act like they took down this juggernaut of the Miami Dolphins and slayed a dragon. That's not the reality.
63.6, 114, 118, or 83.6. I'm sorry. As opposed to 114, 118, 111.5. So you're on the road because of you. Everything is lined up. You've got the supporting cast. And now, if you're the greatest of all time, as Nick claims you are, it's time for you to be the greatest of all time.
That was compelling, Coach. That was very compelling. I know it bothered Nick, but those were facts.
Well,
those were
that's
facts.
facts.
Nick.
It's a fact that the reason the Chiefs didn't have a better record was because of Patrick Mahomes' play. You
The
agree with that
receivers.
take?
No, I'm talking about
well, that was
the
Coach's
numbers he
take.
dropped.
Listen,
But
I
then
hate
those
to do
are
Yeah, I
the
guess the
season.
seven, the
I
seven
hate-
sub-80.
Listen, I hate to do this. I have to put one of us on the Bud list. So I am putting on the Bud list. Go ahead and reveal it, please. No, that is not.
I knew it was coming. It's more Nick than Wild. It's more Nick than you, Wild.
Take that
I'll
down.
give you that.
I am
Yeah, take
putting
it down.
Coach Mangini
Oh, wow.
on the Bud list. Our own Mercury Morris for the Kansas City Chiefs. And you might be like, oh, wait, what? Is it because Coach Mangini is trying to protect that he was a part of the last back-to-back? Doesn't want the Chiefs to do it? And the answer to that is no. Coach Mangini is not a selfish person. That's not why he's doing it. He is trying to protect something far more important to his heart. The legacy and the memory of the current GOAT, Tom Brady, against the man attacking his GOAT reign in Patrick Mahomes. Because the fact of the matter is this. It's 100% correct. And the reason is because Coach Mangini, if he were being honest, loves Patrick Mahomes. He thinks he's the best quarterback in the league. Handles himself the right way. Took less money. Did everything that he would ask him to do. So why does he constantly come on television and attack him?
Because
of
sometimes
this.
my expectations are higher than
No,
his own.
it's actually because of this. Because through the first 15 playoff games, obviously Patrick has better stats, and we all know Tom never won a game against a team with injured players. That clearly didn't happen. No, you made
Super Bowl
wins.
Wild.
Should not be up there with.
Wild.
very
I am getting there.
At the very bottom.
It's not at the bottom. It is.
Well, it is actually.
is.
Technically.
Okay. Through 15 playoff games, that's where they're at. If Patrick.
He's actually upset. Notice how everyone else is having fun, but he gets upset. So he talks about Mangini is is hard on Patrick Mahomes to protect his love for Tom Brady, but yet Nick Wright actually gets genuinely upset and worked up. And he's upset that Wilds, who's doing his job to kind of poke holes and be kind of funny and charming and witty, and he actually that wasn't a bit there. Again, Nick Wright is genuinely just will you stop it? Let me give my whole, little rant. And again, it's a nonsense. And also, guys, this is so dumb too. football, when Tom Brady played, just look at their uniforms. And also look at Tom Brady's like shag coming out through his helmet. It may as well have been the 70s, man. It was a different era of football. It was coached differently. They also had Bill Belichick as a defensive head coach. That was the whole defense wins championships era, okay? Patrick Mahomes started his career during the reckoning of offense, and having Andy freaking Reid as the head coach. So those stats are going to be different, okay? They are going to be different. People score. The rules of the NFL have changed, okay? Literally, they changed the rules to make it easier to score. Can we not act like that's not a thing? Okay, we know that. We know defensive players for years have complained about this, okay? Any commentator, any coach, everyone knows this. Even Bill Belichick and Mangini just said the other day that Bill knows, that they don't pay billions of dollars to have the game be 6-3, okay? The NFL literally changed the rules to make it more offensive prone as well as safety related, which also then helps out the offense. So comparing these numbers is nonsense, okay? Some of these great elite quarterbacks historically that we consider to be Hall of Famers or that are actual Hall of Famers that are elite, amazing, Bradshaw, Aikman, any of these, look at their numbers and their numbers look downright pedestrian a lot of times, okay? If not for their entire career. It was a different game. It was a different NFL with literally different rules. That can't be understated. That cannot be understated. So, again, when you look at this, if you're not really thinking about the reasons why, you're like, oh, wow, yeah, that's crazy. Look at all those more points per game, higher offense, yards per game, more touchdown interception. Like, wow, yeah. It was a different game. Completely different rules. Like even Tom Brady said this a few years ago. He goes, I make throws now. I throw the ball to players in certain situations that a few years ago I wouldn't, because they would get rocked. They would get their bell rung, or they would get hurt, or whatever. Now he's like, well, now I can make that throw because I know it's a safe throw to make. Not only will it be a completion, but it will be a touchdown. It will be successful, and the rules protect my wide receiver, so now I'm not even sacrificing him anymore. That's real. That is a real effect that's happened. So these numbers are inflated, without a doubt. That's not to take away anything from Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is elite and is great and genuinely has a chance to dethrone Tom Brady as the GOAT. I believe that in my heart. But using these types of numbers to make that argument, it's just not true. It's just not true, and it makes zero sense.
Wins this Super Bowl this year, the only thing Brady has him in, they will be even at, which is the Super Bowl wins. And we can show you through their 6 playoff runs, which is where Patrick is. Now, while coach is using as a negative the fact that Patrick Mahomes has a top 3 defense, that was Tom Brady's entire life for those 3 Super Bowl victories. And so coach is not anti-Mahomes. He is just so pro-Tom Brady that he is threatened by Mahomes, which is why he comes on television and goes against Patrick Mahomes. So I'm putting coach on the bud list.
Fair take.
Wow.
That's exactly what it is.
It's a fair take.
I sound all right. That was good, Nick. I think Mahomes is the GOAT. I was the first to ever say it. Or
Well, I just wanted to see if they were going to point out what I said, but they didn't. But I stand by everything I said. If you think what I said is the most ridiculous thing ever, let me know in the comments below. If you think what I said is 100% correct, please definitely let me know in the comments below. Either way, let's get into some discussions. Let's get into some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. I read every single comment. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and it's turning into something truly, truly special. And I would absolutely love to see you part of it. Thank you so much, and see you next time.